Well, hello and welcome, and today we're going to try something very interesting, a rapid game, 15 minutes, 10-second increment. Um, I don't know if YouTube will let me upload such a long video, but let's give it a crack. The reason I wanted to play this rapid is that I got inspired from watching an interview with Paddy Upton. Paddy Upton is the new psychological conditioning coach for Gukesh Damaraju, who's running for the World Championship title. Paddy Upton was also the coach of the Indian cricket team in their successful campaigns for various World Cup tournaments. So he clearly knows what he's talking about. And what he said is a lot about sports psychology is about staying in the present moment and not focusing on the outcome. To basically leave your ego aside and not care whether you win or lose. Just stay in the present and focus on one move at a time. And that's what I want to practice doing. Because it does need practice. So this is an atypical move, and I don't want to press forward. I believe knight f3 is the right approach. The question comes, what do I do after this? Because he is planning this move. I have to really think about this one. I want to spend a bit of time because I played this opening myself with black, and honestly, I don't see knight here being that great. I see bishop here as a bit more in line with the spirit of the position, and I'm going to play that because it makes this move a bit harder to play. And now with himself preparing to fianchetto, a move like h3 definitely comes into play. This knight is a critical piece in this whole juncture here. So h3 definitely on the cards. Alternatively, there's knight c3, a bit more normal. We pretty much have to be prepared for the fact that he should have good control of this square. Knight c3 could threaten to take that away from him, but it does run into this move, potentially. Yeah, I'm going to go with h3. And now knight c3. And if he castles here, then I could consider playing e4 right away. I could consider it, but even that is a bit committal because you run into e5, and if we get into a capture, 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 capture situation, rook eventually comes back here. And then what? Well, the knight is still holding on to that pawn. So maybe it's okay. See, that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to stay in the present moment and to play one move at a time. Just focus on that one move. Now here He's done something which is preparing the big Lebowski, f5 or e5. One or the other, he's definitely planning it. We play this. I'm really not sure how to respond here, honestly. Could be one of those positions where you need to use a little bit of more intuition. I'm gonna go with my intuition and play bishop e2. And now just go back. I played this move a little bit quickly. I should have considered playing this first, just to see if it would provoke this. Well, now we definitely are looking to play d5, but let's just confirm it before we play it. Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. His rook having committed to this line, now there's definitely more merit in closing it up, because f5 is that much harder to achieve as a pawn break. Knight c5 seems very likely as a move he's going to make. f5 is the pawn break that he would love to do. A preemptive b4 is not totally ridiculous. Castling is not 100% needed right yet, so we can play a move that needs to be played if it is indeed merited. Now a5 is likely that he might himself play that, but if he does, we have knight b5 here, which is quite annoying. Quite annoying. So we don't have to worry too much about a5, do we? Well, maybe we still do. This pawn break is really the one, but we would love to get it with his knight on f8 rather than a good knight here. So I'm gonna play that move. Gonna make it that much harder for him to mobilize his pieces. Here, of course, we're ready for a trade. Now comes a question mark. Is he going to try something like this? Let's just castle. So he has expanded some pawns on the queen side, given himself a bit of air here. It makes it that much less likely that he's going to play this pawn break, but this move, on the other hand, does signal preparation. Now, let's think about our pieces. Which pieces are well utilized and which ones not so well utilized? I think here we want to maintain tension. And here we probably want to make it a bit harder to break it. But he can break it even now. There's nothing really stopping him. If all Truman had was this vague idea that he wanted to stop the pawn break, then he wouldn't be able to do it. But if he was truly determined, Yeah, so he did do the pawn break. And I don't know, there's something like he's playing it so quickly. It's like he believes he's won the game now all of a sudden or some crap. You haven't won shit, bro. You haven't won shit, but it's true. Your pieces will be able to unwind effectively here. We need to probably start attacking his weak spots in the position ourselves. So the knight out is tempting. But I'm going to go with queen first instead. Because this queen is kind of blocked in anyway. So knight out is just signaling my intentions a lot sooner. Don't let the opponent dictate where the game is played. He's trying to dictate the game to being over here, all this stuff. We gotta tell him where the game's being played, bro. It's being played right here. You did a lot of shit on this side, and there are going to be consequences. There are. Now, these kind of moves are tempting me to, again, want to go onto this side of the board, but let's think about it before we do anything hasty. Nah, there's no merit in breaking this up. You don't want to activate him on your loose pieces. So let's just continue on with the plan. It's a pretty straightforward plan and looks simple enough and difficult enough. So I think a tribal chess DC is in a little spot of bother here. Let's have a look at his profile. Wait a second. Let's first play the game. Play the game, man. Well, okay, there is some stuff going on here that we need to watch out for. A little pressure building up here, but now there's less of this bishop diagonal stuff going on. So we can afford to, but if he captures back with a pawn, then this forking threat does re-emerge. Which we also don't like. And if we push back with a knight here, then the bishop could get trapped, which we also don't want. So it's a tricky position. Now, if we remain patient with this, are we gonna end up regretting it in the long run? If we capture first with the knight, if we capture first with the knight, that's the idea. The idea is that we're attacking a high value piece immediately and buying ourselves time to play this move, because should he play the corkscrew, we have the bishop outlet now. Now we do have it. So we can play just like this. Only thing we have to now start watching out for is if he starts trying to pin this piece, but it seems very, very far-fetched. Very, very far-fetched indeed. Especially with this bishop looking ominous. So we took our time to play a few patient good moves, and I'd say it has paid off. Yeah, just it's a bit too late to start thinking now, though, right? Isn't it? Why was he in such a rush earlier in a rapid game? Why did you play a rapid game if they're not taking a little bit of time to think? But okay, here we are, and I think this looks just right. Another relatively quick move, but he is planning stuff now, although still doesn't matter. Do we want to take this off the board? I don't think we should be that desperate for it. Let's just play with the principles. That would be one of those so-called anxious moves that we're all guilty of. Whenever we're ahead in the game, we tend to play these anxious moves. Now, clear threat is bishop sack. Right, a bishop sack right at the wrong time can just turn the game around. We, on the other hand, can play something clever with the knight, right? Oh, we also got bishop under threat here. So, a lot of things going on right now. Let's take a breather. Take a deep breath. Think about the game. We want to keep the rook here because there is also some pressure on the f-pawn. We could liquidate the tension of this loose piece, just dilute him away. But it gets the bishop into the game, and then you're obviously scared. But you got to deal with fear. You got to confront it, allow the fear to happen. And now think, knight here is threatening mate. So how does he handle that? Does he just play a defensive move like rook here? If he does, then I think we just come back all the way here with the queen and make sure no shenanigans take place there. Possibly. Of course, we have some loose pawns here too, which I have to remember. Not that the pawns are going to dictate what happens in the game, really, but additionally, there is a bishop that can come here too, just to tickle the queen. I don't know if it helps that much, but and lastly, of course, there's the idea of just holding the bishop, holding this diagonal. The only problem is it allows the knight to come in here and fork the rook and the bishop. Of course, I can push this bishop all the way back and pin the knight against the queen. Could have a check in there. That's nothing to worry about. Oh, well, it could be. It could all of a sudden be something to worry about, because then he gets another check here potentially, and then the bishop sacked there, and poof, the game can suddenly unravel. So I got to be a bit careful. If we go with the knight out right away, and he captures it, and we capture back, and then he captures this, do we have anything to show for it? I don't see any real tricks after that. Okay. Enough time thinking, it's time to play a move. And we have played a move. It's the right move. It's a move played with character that leads. It's a move played with integrity that leads to character. Let me continue on my journey. You hold my future in your hands, committee. It's a valuable future. Believe me. Don't destroy it. Embrace it. It's going to make you proud someday. I promise you. All right. So we have the whole shebang here, and we're playing the move we promised ourselves we were going to play, which is a threatening of a mate, and he has captured it rather quickly and then taken a free pawn. Maybe that's the approach he's taking. Totally reasonable approach. But I think it's not scary, because I do have a very, very advanced pawn here, which has got to be dastardly scary for any human being. My goodness, how can he handle that pressure? Is he going to handle that pressure? The bishop will then come in at some point. Of course, he can also gang up. He can gang up a lot of pieces on it, but I don't know. I don't believe it should be possible to get away with this. So we're going to just go with the instinct a little bit here. And now I have to play the critical, precise little move. If he captures this, then there's no way for him to really hold on to this any longer. So bishop move already could be quite tempting. We're tempting him to capture this, because queen here then finishes the game. He should know he's got to go back. You've got to go back, son. And if he does, then we know he's a clever boy, and we won't waste our time putting our queen here. See, this is how you save tempo. The ordering of the moves matters so tremendously. Okay, now he's playing a more spicy approach, and we have to respect that, but also seek to punish it. So let's keep him honest and take a pawn. Keep him honest and take a pawn. Keep him honest and take a pawn. If at the end of this whole exchange he still manages to win that pawn, well and good, but we should still have a hero on our side. And that's the hero we're going to count on. Do we attempt to try to win this? I think it's not really there to be won anymore. Instead, okay, let's play one move ahead. It'll be interesting to see what he captures with rook or queen. In principle, I would say rook is a better choice for him. Keep more pieces on the board. He is definitely going to be planning this move. We shouldn't be too scared. Just let him do it. Okay. This I was not expecting. What happens here? Okay. Could end up in a situation where it becomes 3 pawns against 2 pawns, and that could end up being a draw. So we've got to be careful here. We'll bunker down this way. We're kind of holding this pawn in a diagonal angle and also making it a bit trickier to to execute some shenanigans here. Holding on to a weak f2 pawn, freeing up the rook for more pawn supporting duties. And at the right moment, we can also move our queen back here to hustle the rook up, start putting some pressure here even, potentially. If I just hold this pawn, let him deal with the pressure of it. Okay, I think we have no choice here. Queen check was not good enough because his rook ends up behind the pawn, and then I have to settle to capture this pawn in exchange, and it ends up with that 3 versus 2 structure. So we want to keep the outside passed pawn alive. We want to keep the outside passed pawn alive. And we want to now also target one isolated pawn that he has so that we buy ourselves some breathing room. The principle of two weaknesses, common principle in endgames. One weakness he has to deal with is that he's got this pawn to contend with. The other is his isolated pawn here. Pawn which is undefended by any other pawn. So I think with that principle, we should be in a good position here to convert this little advantage that we have. It's ultimately quite tiny an advantage, as you can see. Very many players would have given away their edge by now. But as you get stronger and stronger as a player, you know that those half points matter so much, and you have to work really hard to convert these pawn plus games, you know. Strong players will make it really, really hard for you to win these. I had to undergo a real frustrating period in my chess career when I was in the probably 1900s, where I wasn't able to convert these against strong opponents. And it really was a bit of a crisis in some ways. Here he's got some tricks, you know, queen check, winning the loose piece. So he might still try a few shenanigans. There it is. That is exactly a trap. He's exactly trying to set a trap here. But we're not going to fall for it. We're going to be patient. Going to be patient. And should it end up in a situation like this, where you'll have to take it with the queen anyway. And then we have a rook check, which is quite devastating, because queen comes up here, and our queen comes up with super invasive potential, which he will have a check on me. I'll come up here, and he might have a follow-up check right back there, but then nothing after this. Okay, so we thought a lot about this one line, which ultimately isn't gonna happen, or is it? We do have this move. The only problem with this move is, well, maybe there's no problem with it. Yeah. I think it was the only way to really advance the game here. So if we capture now on the next turn, does he have any tricks? I don't think he has any tricks. So if we capture now on the next turn, he captures back, we capture with the pawn, and queen just holds everything together and takes it forward. On the other hand, if he captures here, okay, this is a move, atypical move. You can just capture it. Pretty much asking the question right away. He has to respond in the negative. He will have these kind of tricks still up his sleeve. Just preemptively get our king off the back rank. And let's also see what do we do in the event of a check. Play this move here, or this move feels a bit weakening, honestly. But it is okay. But this move, on the other hand, this feels okay. This feels better. I want to keep this threat alive. The rook check and trade of rooks should make it easier game to convert. Get one pair of heavy pieces off the board. He's done well for himself to kind of like hang in there. Okay. So he knows what the main threat of the game is. Now we need to start thinking very aggressively, I think. We need to start getting hostile, but without getting carried away, of course. Rook here or rook there? That's what I'm deliberating now. Rook here feels a bit more in control, holding things together and having a clear target of attack. So we're just going to go that way for now. Rook there is a bit more edgy. It's a bit more like, I gotcha. You got to be a bit more confident to play like that as well. Really knowing your attacking patterns. I guess the idea would be to somehow get queen here and then try for a mate there, but on the other hand now, queen here pretty much forces a trade of queens, doesn't it? And that should be enough to convert a win as well. If he goes back here, we can capture there. Yeah, it's pretty much GG now. But let's see. He is a resourceful fellow. He tries to keep the game alive. He should have taken his time to think earlier in the position, but he didn't. Let's have a look at his profile like we promised we would. He's young. He's new on the site. He's just played a handful of games. He's ambitious. He's trying to pump up his rating. Maybe he's a much stronger player than this in principle. I'm going to play the lateral defense. And there's a reason for that. Because if the king comes up, I want to be able to play this move. Already go forward here. Now I'm threatening a trade. Because if he makes one move closer, then okay, now we just take this one and seal the game off. Nothing left in the position now. A lot of players play a bit too quickly. I think he played too quickly during the opening phases of the game, and that obviously backfired. Whatever. And now it's just wasting it. This is sour grapes, unfortunately. But we'll respect it, and we will find a way to win dominantly with these two pieces. All right, thank you for watching that showcase. Let's see how our performance is. 87.8, a very stable advantage, and just converting it meticulously. Strong middle game play, good end game play as well, and my opening maybe not the finest on this occasion. Let's have a look. So bishop f4 is not the best. This is indeed the more professional way to play the line. Yeah. But we know this game. We've played this game a million times. Okay. All right. H3 not bad. E3 more in line with the spirit. Definitely true whenever you have the bishop out. But I was getting a little bit King's Indian-y here in the game, and okay, that was incorrect. Continuation here is a bit more measured. Yeah, it's a more calm position. A lot more maneuvering. I don't know, this bishop ends up being a little bit weirdly placed. Okay, but knight d7 definitely not a good move. You always know it, but how to take advantage of it? I did consider bishop g5. I did consider it. Just okay. e5 ultimately played, and here too I was thinking I should have played bishop g5 perhaps. The idea is to coax f6. Somehow this is it looks very solid, of course, but it's restrictive for black. So that's the point. Now rook e8 was the mistake that allowed me chance back in, because d5 is a great move to kind of block his main idea. And b4, it was premature. It was premature indeed. We could have seen that f5 was the pawn break he would go for, and maybe already preemptively played g4. Interesting. Yeah. In a way, it makes sense. I didn't consider g4 even so much, though, which is surprising. Anyway. Here I never understand, like, why would I play b4 here? Because b4 just allows him to play what he wants to play, right? It really doesn't feel like the game has gone in a great direction for me. Personally, it doesn't feel that way. But I understand that black, materially he may be good, positionally he may look good, but there may not be much there. You've got to go a lot deeper into the position, I think, to understand it, though. So that's an example of one of my not fully understanding the game examples. This was a bit rambunctious, slightly rambunctious, but I thought it was good. Computer recommends queen a2. What's the idea there? So go for a bit more patient approach to try to undermine all that. But is there a counter to queen a7? Okay, the counter is that he should get his knight out. And then what? So he's attacking here. This is messy. This is very messy position. Very messy position indeed. But I like it for white. Here our plan was very straightforward. And we deliberated a lot on this particular move. And ultimately, it wasn't the perfect choice. Perfect choice was a much more calm. Bishop back. I thought about a move like that, but it just felt like I'm not grandmasterly enough to play like that. I mean, the whole idea is that you can capture here and then you just have enough time to go back without worrying about the pieces being forked. Very interesting. Okay, but he didn't capitalize. This was the thing. We attacked a high value piece, which was a rook, and now he should have gone on the double-edged approach. He should have given up the rook potentially and gone with sacrifice the exchange basically. But he didn't want to take that line, which is understandable and very human. It's the only way he could have played this position there. But here now everything comes really sweetly under control, very elegantly coming together. And here was another critical moment where I wanted to be precise. And this was the precise move. So I'm very pleased with that and a good continuation as well. And okay, pawn up was a little bit hasty. A little bit hasty. Let's just see, why is queen here? Well, queen up there is like just somehow forcing the matter. I don't know. Okay, so we came up here. We didn't play queen there. I thought I was being very clever by not doing that. But queen there, I thought, forces his hand into playing the moves he is anyway going to play. So instead we played rook there, and now he should have played a move like this, which is interesting. Not like super duper or anything, just okay. We took the pawn. We simplified everything. Interesting that the computer recommends that I give up the pawn. There are a lot of motifs going on this side of the board which are a bit more tactical. So maybe that's part of the reasoning. King vulnerability and such, but difficult one to play. I thought, oh yeah, I should have seen this motif. Just capture and then push it forward. Makes a lot of sense. Shame on me for not seeing that, but totally understandable because I already had my positional endgame strategy mind activated, so I forgot to look for tactics. Interesting. Optimism is very much given. All right, good game, and hope you enjoyed that. Cheers.